What's up you guys, it's 2Bricks and I'm back today with another video which is going to be a combination review of this lovely set in front of you and also modification video because I know that this is a set that I'm going to want to modify. It's a pretty small and inexpensive set that a lot of people are going to be coveting, I believe, especially Clone Wars and Star Wars fans and fans of the expanded universe pre-Disney Star Wars material. So yeah, there's a lot of love, I think, there for that time period and that era, and this is going to be a very popular set. So I know that I want to alter this to be a little bit more faithful to the source material, just for my own personal preference. And so irrespective of the review, that's something that I'm going to be doing for the back half of this video. So stay tuned for that if you're interested to see how I would change this up a little bit to make it, in my opinion, slightly better. But yeah, for the time being, let's just get on with the review of the set as it comes. This is exactly what you get in the box. This is the sticker sheet, this is the model, and also we have some spare pieces as per usual, which I'll be showing you later on. So let's dive in and take a look at this actually pretty good little set. Alright, so I'll go ahead and give you my initial impressions. This is the set right here, and it is pretty good. I think that as a model of the Republic fighter tank, or the Saber class tank, it's serviceable. I think as a toy, it works pretty well, and I'm overall fairly satisfied with it. So this is the spent sticker sheet right here. If you're not a fan of stickers, you will be applying a great many of them, mostly fairly large ones throughout the set. So you have 1, 2, 3 just on this one piece alone. You have one right here. There's 2 on either side for the cannons. There's 2 large ones that make up the detailing for the front section here. A single Republic logo sticker there. So yeah, there's a lot. And if you're somebody who has trouble with stickers, there are ways that you can kind of get better at applying them if you're somebody who always sticks them on incorrectly. One way that I like to do is to use a brick separator to hold onto the edge of the sticker just to peel it up and then place it down. It just gives you a little bit of extra control. I know that's a little tip that a lot of folks have been talking about on like Instagram and different kind of Lego socials. It's a great little tip. It's a great little Lego life hack, and I think definitely I recommend doing it. That's the way that I do it as well. And I usually get the stickers on fairly straight and fairly even, so yeah, no real problems with that. But yeah, I think that they do greatly help the look of the set, and for my own modifications, I'm going to be trying to keep a lot of the stickered parts as much as possible intact in the set, because I think that it does improve the overall look. Pretty standard instruction manual here for Star Wars related stuff. Nothing really too fancy. It's got the kind of the new style of showing you the bags in the beginning and what you're going to get, which I personally don't see too much value in. It has these new kind of like, hooray, you did it, like this sort of congratulatory graphic here for each section that you complete, so that's fun. But yeah, pretty standard for the Star Wars line there, nothing too special. And then as far as the figure selection goes here, we have 6, and those are really, to my mind, the main draw of the set. I mean, your 2 battle droids are, you know, your fairly standard, well, no, exactly standard battle droids, with the new, the gunmetal gray standard size mid blasters there, which they've been getting for a while, it does make them a little bit deluxe compared to the old droids that we used to get that just had the black blasters that were kind of indistinguishable from the clone ones. So that's fun. So you get 2 of those. It's feeling like it's been about time for Lego to do an update to these, since, you know, they've been making the exact same mold for 20 years, but, you know, they work really well. And if you are somebody like me who's just been buying sets and has an absolute army of these at this point because they come in so many different sets, it's going to be a real pain and a real shame if you have to start your army over again once they create a new standard. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there for those. But I think really the star of the show here is Mace Windu. I think he looks absolutely fantastic. He's got his Clone Wars kind of armor there, and he's got his arm printing for the braces here on the side, and the Republic logo looks absolutely fantastic. And he's got the indication here for the white kind of detailing under the robes there, and I think he looks absolutely great. So this is a far superior Mace Windu to the one that we got with the super expensive Republic gunship set, and I'm okay with that. I actually think that the draw for a set like this being the figures means that this set should have better figures in it. I think that the inclusion for the gunship was just kind of a, you know, here's some figures. So I think that actually works out just fine. So there's Mace, and oh, and I have the new kind of more frosted, slightly less transparent style of lightsaber piece. I'm still not sure exactly how I feel about those, as I know that they're the new standard. I do kind of miss, or I have, I guess, some nostalgia for the old completely transparent pieces, but I think this actually is probably a better piece because it just catches the light a little bit more. But I just think there was something unique about the look of the previous ones. But anyway, that's fine. So an absolutely fantastic mace. Sorry, you'll have to forgive me. I don't know the names of all of my clone troopers specifically, but these are the kind of expanded universe, purple accented Mace Windu troopers here, and this is an airborne trooper, I believe is what these are called. They have the unique style of much kind of more aggressive looking helmet there. This guy has the long blaster. He has absolutely fantastic printing for the body and all the straps and the pouches and all of the detailing, I mean, even down there on the toes. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it's just got the standard new kind of darker skin tone of kind of somber clone face, which works really well. And yeah, just absolutely gorgeous top level graphic design on this. So really, really impressive. Put him to the side. We get two of these that are identical. They are clones after all. And they have the kind of the more standard kind of phase 2 helmets there. But again, absolutely stunning printing for the all the little details of the shoulder guard and the strap, and the way that the armor has some real nice kind of relief to it. These are just absolutely brilliantly produced figures, and I really get a kick out of these. So I love also the fact that they just went ahead and included the strap all the way across the back. Just kind of separates those from standard clone troopers, and you can see here the difference with the airborne trooper there. It's got different strapping details, so really, really nice. So yeah, these are an absolute win for me. I think that the set is a very minifigure focused set, and I think that they got those absolutely right. And of course, these guys have the same clone head. Again, no issues with that because they are clones, so that's a-okay. But I do like that the new kind of skin tone more accurately reflects the actor who initially played the clones, Tamora Morrison. He does have a darker skin tone, so yay minifigs. These are absolutely ace. And then before I move on to the actual tank, here are the extra pieces. You get a nice lightsaber hilt, which is very evenly coated with the silver paint, so I appreciate that. That's a great inclusion. An extra bolt for the spring-loaded shooter, and then we have two arms here for the battle droid. So you have the standard gun holding arm, which is the straight variety, and then you have the classic bent with sideways facing hand arm there. And so of course you get two, or I guess one of each of those, so that you can customize your droids how you want them to be. You can have them double fisting guns, or you can have them both with the standard classic limbs. So I like that a lot. And we just have a couple of Technic pins and pretty standard parts included with this as well. So there you go for those. Nothing super special, but you know, spare bits are always nice to get. So the tank itself, I think it is pretty nice. I think it's a lot larger than a lot of people were expecting. When I saw this X-Wing canopy right here, I knew that it was going to be a fairly sizable model, just because I am fairly familiar with that particular piece. And it is fairly impressive. The only thing that I think is really lacking proportion-wise is that it feels like it kind of melted. Like these side pods here should really be at an angle, and they should, I think, be tucked in a little bit closer to the body, or the main body should be a little bit wider. I think that's probably more what it is. I think this section down in here gets very flat and feels like it wants to come out a little bit further. So proportion-wise, it feels a little too tall, feels a little too wide, feels a little too flat. So there's just a lot of different parts about it that could do with some tweaking. But I think that, you know what it is. If you're a Clone Wars fan, you look at this and you immediately know what you're looking at. So it's not like it's a complete failure or anything like that. I think it's pretty decently done. But I do think that really the main thing for me is that there's a few missed opportunities. I think that it includes a decent amount of space, so you can open up this front canopy, sit a trooper right there. You can open up this top hatch, and you can place a guy standing down in here. and he's got a little control panel there, and then he's on a kind of raised up arch section here, so you can have space to not exactly sit, but sort of throw in a third trooper down at the bottom. So you really just need to kind of place him in head first and kind of have him laying in there, because the guy at the front here is going to be sitting in this little seat area that is indicated, like so. And then you kind of have to lean him back in order to close up this canopy portion. And then, yeah, there's not really room in there for anything but a guy laying down. So at least it does have an opening back hatch. I appreciate that. And it does have the ability to stand somebody up on this top platform here. There's no top gunner station, which you would hope to see. So the best you can do is kind of have one of your troopers standing up here and pointing his own blaster out and kind of simulating that. But I think that is a little bit of a miss feature-wise. And I just think that it feels a little awkward, with this little kind of smaller space in here that isn't really very usable. And I think that there's ways to get a little bit more out of that. And so that's one of the things I'll be trying to do in my modification. But yeah, I think the shaping overall, the use of the white ingot pieces, the color scheme, it's all pretty well done. I think the detailing that you get out of these stickers, like including these little handle kind of, I don't know what these are, these little kind of attachment rungs here, are really nice. And I think that the amount of brick detailing to achieve the color scheme, like using these pieces in here for the white detailing, works really well. I think that the guns look decent and they can articulate up and down, so that's nice. And you have your little spring-loaded shooters in here, so you can fire those off. And of course, those work really well and always have. So yeah, no real problems with this as a toy. It does have wheels on the bottom, so you can easily roll this around. And there's no like rubberized tires or anything on those wheels, so you can just very easily slide it from side to side. You can roll it as long as you're on like a harder surface. You can definitely easily kind of hover this around, as it were, and I think that works just fine. It's just that some of the proportions and some of the play functionality feels a little bit off. One thing that immediately bothered me is that this feels like it wants to be able to sit flat under here, and it just can't because of the way that these pieces are configured. But one really simple mod that you can do that I'll just show you right now, doesn't require any additional pieces. You just pull these off. So these are the pieces that hold onto or prevent that that part from collapsing in on itself. You just center the one and you just put that back in there where it was. And then this can close up with no gap. Look at that. Because the edges of this part are not catching on the edges of those. So yeah, that's just one tiny, really easy modification that I think already improves the look, because you don't have that kind of unsightly, awkward gap down the side there. So, there's just little things like that I feel like if it had been given a tiny bit more thought, could have been avoided. And I think definitely not having a way to include a top turret here is a bit of a miss as well. But overall, I think as a toy, it works really well. It's solid, it can be roughhoused with, you can pick it up and move it around, and it has a number of really interesting new pieces, interesting pieces. This new sloped element here is a single large piece, which is really interesting to get. This canopy printed in white is ace, absolutely love that. And a lot of the larger new 2x6 tile pieces, so there's a red one here, and there's this white one in here. Sorry, I keep knocking the figures off to the side here. And yeah, the ingots in white are fantastic to get as well. So there's a lot of really good pieces in here that are being used. I love getting these rapiers, these fencing swords as the antenna. So yeah, really good overall as a toy, and I think pretty sizable and fun to play around with if you're a kid who's just interested in Star Wars stuff and wants to simulate a little battle, and you don't really care about hyper accuracy and details to the nth degree. It definitely captures the look. I mean, you got the kind of aggressive looking eyes there at the front, and I think it does the job decently well. So there you go. So final impressions before we get onto the modifications. As a toy to run over and crush your battle droid enemies, this works really well. You got your great shooting action in there, and you can really do some damage with that, and it's a good toy. So I think kids of a younger age, maybe around 10 to 12 and younger are going to really get a lot out of this as a toy. I think teens who are looking to collect some excellent minifigures and who are fans of Clone Wars are going to really appreciate this set. Although, you know, the battle droids don't do a ton, but they're still nice to get. And I think actually if LEGO started including like 4 of these in each set, so you could really have a proper, you know, one-on-one battle, that would make it a little bit better. But these are still good to get, and like I said, most fans have an absolute ton of these. And the tank itself is good enough where I think you're not going to feel too gypped if you're looking to just get the figures. I think it has a lot of usable parts, and it's pretty good. So I think for $40, I think that the value on this is okay. The piece count is not, I guess the price to part ratio is not the greatest. This has 262 parts, so usually, I mean, I guess in the golden old days, we would be expecting to get around 400 parts for a $40 set. That was kind of the rough calculation for a good value. But I do think that the amount of decently well-produced figures and the kind of volume of the thing that you're getting feels all right to me for a $40 set. I think it's, yeah, the value is okay. And I think that it's not one of those that is an absolute run out and must buy, although apparently it is, because I had a really hard time getting my hands on one. So I guess it's selling really well. But I don't know, I think that this kind of ticks enough of the boxes to please a really wide range of Star Wars fans. So yeah, definitely if you have a obsessive collector in your life who just wants to get everything Star Wars, they're going to love it. But at the same time, they're going to be driven mad by how it doesn't look quite right. So that's always an interesting dichotomy with hyper fans. But I think that it's good. It's good to get it, and I really like that they went with an old EU design for these troops, a no longer canon design, as it were, because that's something that you know, you may as well, right? You may as well make toys of all of the different things that have been created for the Star Wars line for people who enjoy those things. So yeah, that's really fun. So it's a good set. I think I don't rate things out of 10, but it feels like this is a good kind of 7.5 out of 10 set for me if I was to give it a rating. Don't know why I felt compelled to give it that. It just, that number jumped out at me as I was looking at it, and that's how I felt. So there you go. All right, so let me take this away and modify it to my own personal liking, and then I will show you what I come up with. All right, you guys, so here we go. Some time has passed, and probably a little bit too much time, if I'm being honest. And this is the result of my modification. So this is not the same as if I was to scratch build, obviously, a mock of this vehicle. Everything would look dramatically different, but I'm constrained a little bit here by the parts that came with the set. And I've tried to do my best to basically give this tank everything that you would hope to see and not use too many parts. But that being said, I still used a bunch of extra parts. If you guys are interested in making this mod, you can check out the link to my Rebublic page down in the description or in the comments. This will be a free mod so that you can download the instructions for how to build it. It's basically, you take your set apart, you add the new pieces that I recommend, and then you just build the whole thing up again from scratch using the new instruction manual. You can see exactly how many new parts are added. There's a little comparison link that you can check out on the Rebublic page, because this will be listed as a modification of the official set. You can then just basically look at the link that they provide that says compare this to the official set, and it'll give you a list of unique parts that were not included with the original set that you need to purchase. You can export those parts into a list, and then you can upload them to to Bricklink. I always make the mistake. To Bricklink or any other seller of bricks that you happen to like, and then you can get those parts for yourself. So I tried to keep the additional parts super generic and basic, nothing fancy or specialized, and I think that it does the trick. So let me get in and show you what I added to this. There's a lot of actual different kind of features and little specialties that I added. So yeah, let's take a look up close. All right, so clearing these guys out of the way, and we'll get Mace out of the way as well for now. Bring up the tank here. Let me show you what I did. So the first and most important thing is I wanted the side pods here to be able to move up and down like they can in canon. I was actually looking at a lot of footage from Battlefront 2, I believe, where this vehicle can be piloted around very easily. and you can see that as it kind of goes around corners and things, one side will flatten out and the other side will go down, and they'll just sort of, that'll give it the ability to strafe around a corner. So that was super important to me. So what I did in order to achieve that is I just attached a bunch of these hinged, or I guess Technic plate with pinhole holders, the upside down and the regular ones, to anchor it into the body here and give it the ability to move up and down. So Technic pins with the friction ridges there are holding these in place, so it gives it a good amount of friction, so that when it's on the ground, it doesn't, it doesn't want to just droop on its own. You can set the angle pretty reliably and leave it as it is. So you can still have it go all the way flat if you want to give it this kind of high look, I guess, where it's everything's just elevated, or you can lower one side or both. So yeah, pretty happy with how that turned out. And you can kind of lower these all the way down to the ground if you want to get a really steep angle on it. Just depends what you think looks best. So that's that. And then I also gave it the addition of these little maneuvering flaps in the back. These are very reminiscent of like the Rebel Snowspeeder, where you have the ability to angle these little fins here for steering. So that's pretty cool. I added in the, I basically reversed the build for the door here so that the red would be visible on the back, and I added the accurate detailing for the kind of cross design that you see on the back of the door here. And then I also added in the top turret. That was a huge one for me. Probably the biggest thing that I thought was missing is it just looked like it wanted to have the top turret. So this is something that you can rotate around. My figure is sitting a little too far forward there, so he got knocked aside, but yeah, you can maneuver it from side to side. It has the guard there where you can see right down the middle of the sight, and then the kind of armor plating protecting the gunner there. So really happy with that, how that turned out. But other than that, I tried to make use of as many of the original parts that were in here as possible. I tried to avoid adding as many parts as I could. Let's see some of the other things that I did. Let's see. So I added the 2 floodlights down here. Those are pretty important for visibility. And then I centered up the cannons here. So previously there was a spring-loaded shooter bolt in the bottom here, which I omitted, and then I centered up the massive kind of cannon on the side here because I wanted it to not be on top, because that's just kind of how it should be. And I also bulked up this little end section here with a cone piece to give it a little bit more heft. And something I didn't mention in my review, but is actually kind of concerning to me, is that this bar piece is severely lacking in friction. It's either the bar piece or it's this Technic half pin, and this is an issue for both of these sides here, but this has very little clutch power, and this is supposed to be a pretty snug fit where you can position this and it just kind of is fully loose there and it wants to come off. So that's something that reminds me of like what you'd see in a Leppen set, and that's really bad. I think Lego has had a lot of little issues that I've been noticing lately with their quality control, and I think they really need to clamp down on that, because Lego is a super premium product, and I don't want to start feeling like my Lego sets are indistinguishable from less quality competitors. But that was just something that I noticed. But yeah, so I changed up this cannon build to, like I said, beef it up a little bit, center this piece, and then also just bring it out an extra plate from the side here, because I felt like it was just a little too narrow in the side, so I wanted to just kind of extend that out ever so slightly. So that kind of covers the main sort of aesthetic changes. You can take off your clone trooper and you can still close up the top hatch there, so that's cool. And then in the back here, you can open this up, and you can still see down in here there is a little bit of extra room actually for, let me open the front here so I can get some more light. Oh, nope, that didn't help. Well, anyway, the guy in here, the pilot, has a little control console, and he's a little bit more tricky to remove, but basically the way that I engineered this to have room for both a seated clone trooper up here in the gunner station, and then room for a pilot below, I added this little kind of platform in here that's designed to be removed. So you basically just pull that out, and then that gives you access in there to the pretty snug fit, for your pilot. And if you want to, you can just kind of lower this plate to have slightly easier access, and you just get your thumb in there and you pull out your trooper. So that's kind of a tricky, definitely not ideal. And like I said, if I was to design a mock for this would not be how it would go. But I wanted to make use of the space that was in there to have a seated pilot figure with a, you can see down in there, I used the console piece that was previously up here. I added that down in there for the pilot to have something to look at. And he does have room down in there to sit and be piloting. So the idea is he's the driver, and then the gunner would be sitting in the front here. And that's something else that I had to kind of reconfigure for this. So when this lifts off, you can see there's room in there to sideways sit the additional clone. I really didn't like the idea of laying him down in there, so I wanted to at least have him be able to sit. But he needed a space for his helmet because in the sideways configuration, there's no room for him to be sitting with his helmet on. Again, not ideal, but at least he can fit in there with some dignity, and this can all close up. And yeah, the setup here at the front that allows me to have the lights also made this feel a lot more kind of closed up and snug. And I actually added some additional pieces in here to help close that gap up as well, because it was a pretty sizable gap in the front, and you could just kind of see right in there, and I didn't really love the look of that. So I think this all works out decently well, and when you want to deploy your trooper, you just pop him out and you give him his helmet, and he's good to go. So kind of annoying to have to do it that way, but you know, it is what it is. Working with a set that is fairly small like this, space is at a premium. So yeah, that's kind of a tricky thing, but I think it works okay. So when you want to, once you've placed your pilot figure back in there, you just simply can either open the door here to give yourself room to slide this platform in, and you just place it back in the spot, and then you can sit your other trooper on top of that, and that's how that works. So yeah, I think that all works out pretty well, and I like being able to have the hatch here kind of close snugly around the trooper. He still has room to aim his guns, and I think that is nice. So in the back here, I added this extra little portion to just slightly extend out the back, and actually I did end up extending out the entire back section here by a stud, because I felt like it was too short in comparison to the official source material. So in addition to the back door being thicker and further out and having this little extra support piece right here, this all sits one brick further back. And I think that actually really improves the look of it from the profile, makes it much, much more accurate. And it also allowed me to bring this top hatch back one stud, which is what enabled me to have, you know, be able to close the top hatch and have the gun turret as well. So yeah, I think that all worked out really, really well. And then the final thing that I added is sort of like a hidden, I guess almost like a Easter egg. There are actually missile pods that open up on the side of this canonically. It's like a little trapdoor that opens up. So what I did is I took the spring-loaded shooter and I added it on the inside of this. So what you can do is you can remove that, and you can actually just place it on top right here. So you can load up your spring-loaded shooters into these and have these kind of elevated missile pods. So there's one on either side. That will just allow you to kind of more accurately simulate the weapons loadout that is on this craft in universe. So that's really, like, it's not meant to be a properly integrated play feature. It's more like a little Easter egg, a little nod to the original design. And you know, once the spring-loaded shooters are in here, you can fire them off decently well. But again, it's just placed on here with a single stud as a way to indicate that. But you can just place these back fully and close them up, and there you go. And that just kind of completes the side pod look there. So yeah, this is about all that I have that I kind of did to change this up. And I think, you know, in terms of being more screen accurate, it definitely is. I think that, oh, and I guess I did forget to mention that I added these clear supports on the bottom with the rounded clear tiles, so you can move this around very easily. It's more of a true kind of hover feel because it doesn't have wheels that make it want to go forward and back. You can just sort of push it around in any direction. And I think that works out really, really well. So yeah, so this works a little bit better as a hover tank, I feel, without the use of those wheels. So yeah, so all the pieces that I took off, I did try to integrate in other places where possible, so you didn't have too much waste. But there are some fairly sizable plates, like there are these large 4 by, I think, 12 plates under here that I have to remove in order to make room for this all to be angleable. Yeah, some of those things just really couldn't be used elsewhere. But if you want something that's more screen accurate, that's kind of the trade-off that you have to make. So if you guys do like this, please let me know in the comments if you do end up making it, what you thought of it. And yeah, if you guys are at my Rebublic page and you want to check out some of my other designs, every purchase that you guys make does support the channel. And of course, you will be getting the same level of high quality PDF instructions that you can follow along with to build all your builds, digital parts lists to make purchasing easier on the secondary market, and yeah, on the digital models as well are included, so you can tinker around with those in your building software of choice. So yeah, lots of cool stuff on there, so be sure to check that out. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me and checking out this hover tank modification / review. I really think that the base set of this is a pretty nice toy, and I think that it's it wasn't too difficult to modify it to be something that I think is closer to a collector model. So all in all, I think pretty good job by LEGO, and hopefully you guys agree a good job here with the modifications. So hopefully we can get everybody to be happy. So there you go. That's it for today, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video, and may the force be with you.